How to successfully move to a new country in 2025. When you're thinking about relocating from your existing location to a new country, you're going to be faced with a lot of challenges, whether it's in terms of finding a new job, adjusting to culture, and rebuilding your life from scratch. There's a lot of tasks at hand that can make it very overwhelming. So, what is it that separates people who are successful in the relocation versus those who struggle? This isn't very complicated. The more prepared you are before you move, the higher your likelihood of success in a new country. I'll break this down into three phases. The first is your pre move stage, where you plan your life even before you decide moving to a new place. Second is your growth and stability phase. This is where you start your life from scratch and then build on top of it. And finally, your thriving phase. This, once you're well established in terms of your job, your business, you've got your primary residence taken care of. Once you're well established, how do you thrive and plan for your future success and growth? If there's any phase that you have to put a lot of time and effort in, is your pre-moving phase. This is to ensure that once you move to a new country, you don't face any financial hardships. Ideally, you should save for an entire year's worth of expense, irrespective of whether you'll have any income coming in or not. This could roughly be about $2,500 per adult. So, if you're a couple, then an average ballpark figure would be roughly about 5,000 US dollars per month. Now, most of you might think that this is a lot of money, this is not what you will need, but there's a good reason why I would say that you save up as much money as possible for your first year. Second is your health and well being. Whether it's your physical or your mental health, healthcare costs abroad are extremely expensive. It doesn't matter if it is private healthcare or if it is funded by the government, you're better off getting healthy in your existing country with the resources and the network of doctors that you have available. Which means if you haven't been working out, if you're overweight, or if you've got any health conditions, it is a really smart idea to get those checked up even before you make a move. Ideally, I would say that you should have a body fat percentage of less than 22% for men and find the equivalent one for women. You should also be exercising regularly so that your cardio health is in good condition. Ensure that you've got all your required checkups done, and if you've got any dental work or any surgeries that you should be taking care of, it probably makes sense to do it at your current location, whether it's in India or even if you're someone who's living in the US. Third, it is vital that you network with people within your industry and your line of work even before you make that move. If you're one of the lucky few who already has a job offer in hand, then it is still required that you engage with your team abroad. Try and find out what projects they're working on, who your co-workers would be, and establish a relationship with them. However, if you don't have a job and you're moving as a permanent resident, then it is even more critical that you build these connections and build these networks while you're in your home country, whether it's in the US or in India. Reach out to your existing team members, reach out to your existing bosses to see if they can put you in touch with someone that they know within their network. It doesn't matter how smart you are or how hardworking you are, without a reference or without knowing people, it is extremely difficult to get ahead in life. Why waste time and money after you make the move and then start building these relationships? You're much better off doing this while you're at home. And if you plan on starting a business like how I do, it is also really critical that you do your market research while you're still in your home country. You need to understand if the business that you're trying to open actually has a target audience, or if there's even going to be buyers for what you're planning on selling. If not, talk to other business owners. What are certain opportunities that are being unfulfilled that you can probably start a business on? Be part of business communities. It's important that you understand this distinction. If you're an employee looking out for a job, you can network with both fellow employees as well as business owners. But if you are a business owner, then I would say don't waste your time engaging with people who are in a full-time job, because they probably won't have the right insight that will help you in setting up a business. Now that you've got everything set up for your journey, the next phase is your growth and establishment phase. This is where you build up on that strong foundation that you've laid before you made the move here and build on top of it. Now, because you were really smart and you've got a year's worth of expense saved up, you are no longer in that stress of having to find any job that you get. You are not under pressure to take some sort of survival job just to make your ends meet. You only chase those opportunities that are valuable and relevant to you. The first thing that you would do once you move to a new place is getting a new bank account. Now, since most of you are aware that there are two types of accounts here. One is a checking account, which you would use for your day-to-day expenses, such as paying your credit card bills or paying your utility bills or buying anything that you need. Whereas the other one is a savings account. Now, checking accounts don't really give you any interest on the money that you've saved up. That's where a savings bank account comes in. So whatever funds that you've got brought over from your home country, keep part of it in your checking account for your regular expenses, and the remaining part you can keep it in a savings account. Now, in Canada, you can use any one of these big five banks to use both your checking as well as savings account. Whatever money that I don't need in the next 3 months is saved up in that savings bank account that gives me a little bit of bank interest. If you've been a smart and responsible person with your finances, then you probably are into the habit of saving regularly and making your investments regularly as well. Now, this was a big challenge for me when I moved places where, because I was so used to saving up regularly and doing monthly SIPs, not being able to do that was very frustrating. And I would spend a lot of time trying to understand the investment opportunities in a new country. But I would say that you hold off from that decision for now. Right now, it doesn't matter if your money is not being invested. That's okay. You just keep it in a savings account. Right now, the only thing that you should be focusing on is getting a new job or setting up your new business. And if you're also someone who's used to sending money back home to your parents, and if you don't have the means to do it, it's okay to take a pause for a year. Trust me, this is the time where you need to set up a really rock solid foundation for success. You can always send money back home. However, if you take on that additional burden with all the challenges that you have going on for yourself, sending money back home can also be quite difficult. As an NRI, you shouldn't feel guilty not being able to send money back home. But planning for stability first will end up helping your family in the long run. Once your bank account is taken care of, ensure that you get a credit card. Now, some banks will issue you a new credit card even if you're new to the country. Ideally, always choose a cashback or a no-fee credit card initially. Make sure that all of your purchases are made through a credit card for the time being, but it is extremely critical that you don't exceed more than 30% of your credit card's limit. For example, if you've got a credit card limit of $10,000, ensure that you don't spend more than $3,000 per month on it. Else, this will have a big impact on your credit score. And since you're new to a country, you will be rebuilding your credit score right from scratch. And it's really important that you don't make unwise financial decisions. There will be times when you have to make a purchase that will sort of go beyond this budget. For example, assume that you found a place and you're supposed to now get furniture for your home, which might cost a lot more than 30% of the $10,000 limit that you have. In cases like this, it is better to prepay your card ahead of time so that you've got additional funds already paid up for that credit card and you don't hit that 30% threshold. While you're doing all of this, it is also extremely important that you stick to a budget and you track your monthly expenses. Since you've saved up for a year's worth of expenses, it is quite easy to lose track of how much money you're spending and how much you have left sitting in your bank. So ensure that you track your budget, see how much money is going in versus what you already have. You can use any budget calculator. The one that I like to use is the templated one that you get from Google Docs. This is how I use it. Once you've got your banking set up, the next step that I would highly encourage everyone to do is to get your driver's license. If the country that you've moved to allows you to convert your existing driver's license to that specific country's one, then that's great. Go ahead and start that process. If not, I would highly encourage that you start studying and preparing for your driver's license. You might think that you've got far more important things to do, such as finding a job, and why would you waste time getting a driver's license? But hear me out. Car insurance is very expensive, especially for new drivers. And because you don't have any driving history, your insurance premiums are going to be pretty high at the beginning. So even if you're not getting a car right away, it is critical that you get a driver's license as soon as possible. Plus, it'll also be a good way to keep your mind off finding a job all the time. Finding a job is quite stressful, and just doing that constantly can burn you out. So once in a while, it's good that you do something like this. However, you don't need to buy your first car this early. Ensure that you use public transport for the most part. Your first car should always be a purchase that is reserved once you get a job. And if you're a car enthusiast like me, I'll make another video that covers some of the coolest cars that you can buy at a bargain. If you're moving from India or let's say any Southeast Asian country or even Dubai, then a lot of professionals are used to either having someone cook their meals or eating out quite often, because eating out isn't an expensive affair. However, if you're moving to a Western country, eating outside can get expensive very quickly. And more than that, they're not the most healthiest option that's available. So, for the most part, a lot of folks who move to the West notice that they start putting on weight quite drastically because it is expensive and it is unhealthy. Now that you've got everything required to get started, your primary focus should be on getting a job or that business venture that you're looking at. Because you were smarter than most people who make this kind of move, you've now got a year's worth of runway to take that risk to make sure that you find the right job that's suitable for you. While most people make the mistake of trying to find any job that they can when they move to a different country or being in a survival job, that doesn't give them sufficient time to make connections, build their network, try and understand market needs, meet new people, be part of communities. These are actually what's required for you to find a job within your relevant field. If you're a business owner, you can now use this time to do market research. Go and meet existing business owners and understand what their business is about, what are their supply chain constraints, who are their vendors. At the end of the day, in order to be successful in life, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. By now, the expectation is that you found your first job and you found your footing in a new country. Usually, it takes anywhere between 1 to 3 years for someone to fully establish themselves at a new market. You've made your friends, you found your community, you've also had a good understanding of how work culture is over here, and then the final step is to thrive in this new country. Whatever money you have left that you brought over originally, along with the savings that you've done over these past couple of years, you can now take the time to understand what the investment needs are going forward. This is now the right time to resume your SIPs, start making investment plans, or if you prefer somebody else doing it for you, finding a financial planner. Every country has its own tax free investment avenues that will let you exponentially grow your wealth. Since you no longer have the stress of being able to find a job, all you've got to do is continue with your savings and investments and plan for your retirement. I hope this has been helpful and I wish you all the best.